Keep your arms in the vehicle at all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride. What is up, Wrestle Talk family? What is going on? Nightmare Jones here once again. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, and oh my goodness, do we have a show for you tonight, and we are glad that you've decided to join us tonight and to listen to us. You guys are absolutely amazing. Tonight we got the High Spot segment, the Shoot and Shout segment, the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, the Fantasy Wrestling segment, and if that's not enough, we've got Ryan Ash coming on for the first hour, and then for the second hour, a man that I got to see one of the many times that I've came to the Kansas City area. Dak Draper is going to be in the building, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to be joining us. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It is going to be absolutely amazing, and we would not be able to do this without the supporters of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. And so what I want you to do is what I always want you to do, and that's take whatever drink that you got, whether it's beer, water, soda, alcohol, whatever it is, pour it into your Wrestle Talk Podcast mug, because I'm sure everybody has one there. If you haven't, go to the www.wrestletalkpodcast.com and take yourself a swig as we take a drink for the Wrestle Talk Podcast with John and Renee. I don't know if I like that or not. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the night out. Intro, Timmy, if you can hit that music for me.
I'm muted. Que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family. You heard it right. We are back once again, this time for episode 287 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Jonesy, excelente trabajo in running down this week's guests. In addition to the wonderful guests that we're having on the show today, we're also going to do the segments that you guys all know and love. We're going to do the High Spot segment. We're going to do the Shoot and Shout segment. And then at the end of the night, yours truly, the Night Owl, gets to live out a lifelong dream by going one-on-one with Dak Draper. That's right. Guy's always kind of made me upset when he's not being nice. He's always telling me, shame on me. So guess what? Tonight is my night, my gente, my people, to get vengeance on Dak Draper. He's going to face me in tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. And I'll tell you what, he beat me the first time he joined us on the show about 2 years ago. But not this time, amigos. The Night Owl is leaving episode 287 with the dub, baby. I'm walking out with the dub. All that said, Jonesy, I'm really excited about today's show. But obviously, it wouldn't be a show if it wasn't for all the wonderful supporters of the Wrestle Talk podcast, including our wonderful sponsors, which includes our boy Jay Hollywood, Everything Combat, Conspiracy Farm. Those guys are getting ready to do a tour. Make sure you're following Jeffrey Wilson on all his social media platforms for more information on that. Secondly, you guys know we have the firest watch parties anywhere in the Midwest. And they always happen at Esports Bar KC. 40 TVs, that's 20 PlayStation 4s, 20 Xbox Ones, absolutely beautiful venue, beautiful leather couches, absolutely pristine condition all the time. Esports has been a very, very loyal supporter of the Wrestle Talk podcast, and we love them just the same. And last but not least, our newest sponsor, Jonesy, the fine folks over at Kincaid. And guess what? Last week, brother, we were able to give away the WrestleMania 1 through 14 highlight VHS to our buddy Marjo Kirby As soon as it gets to him in the mail, I'm sure he'll take a picture and give us a shout out. But congratulations to Marjo Kirby last week winning that WrestleMania 1 through 14 highlight VHS video. And guess what, bro? We had such a fun time giving stuff away last week, Jonesy, that you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give something else away today. Okay? Today, we're going to be giving away a TNA Wrestling Knockouts exclusively licensed trading card, guaranteed to have one autographed card in the box. Okay? This thing here is still in plastic and was initially issued out in 2009. So this box of cards has never been opened, and it's well over 10 years old. Taylor Wilde, SoCal Val, ODB. Imagine an autographed card from ODB, dude. How freaking sweet would that be? Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and I can keep going and going. There are many wonderful cards, and if you want to win it today, you got to do a couple of things. Number one, you got to go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel real quick. Just type in Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee. Hit subscribe. Call us. Tell us you did it. And when you call in, I want the fire. I want a hot take. That's right. I want a hot professional wrestling take. I don't care if you want to talk indie. I don't care if you want to talk national, international, professional wrestling. Go give us a subscribe on YouTube. Dial that number, 657-383-1521. And if you can call in with that fire, you're going to walk away with this TriStar TNA Knockouts collectible card set, guaranteed to have at least one autographed card in it, man. You really can't beat that. And it's all courtesy of our amigos at Retro Zone, also known as King Cade, at the Oak Park Mall in Overland Park, Kansas. Make sure you guys go and give them a like and tell them we just shouted them out on episode 287 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee. All that said, Jonesy, bro, I gotta ask you, man. I know you've been very, very busy yourself, bro. But what have you been up to these last couple of days, man? I know you're working overtime trying to make sure that we're prepared for these Wrestle Talk Podcast shows that seem to be getting better and better, bro, honestly. But outside of that, what have you been up to, Jonesy?
Oh, man, you know, I've just been doing my thing. I've been watching wrestling. You know, last week I was actually able to watch AEW wrestling, and it's not bad. You know, it's something that we're definitely going to discuss on the High Spot segment, because something happened last night that kind of, you know, I could even discuss it on the High Spot segment. I could discuss it on the Shoot and Shout, because it kind of ticked me off, man. It kind of ticked me off, but yeah.
Bro, I cannot wait until we have an opportunity to talk about that. Guys, it never ends here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. It truly is about interaction with you, our fellow pro wrestling fans, because we're fans just the way that you are. And the reason we created this show to begin with is so we had a platform to talk about professional wrestling, because we do love it so much. Again, guys, that number is 657-383-1521, and we already have somebody on hold. So if you guys want to jump on and you want to talk to Ryan Ash, or you guys want to talk to Dak Draper, or you're trying to get in for the FWWC segment, my recommendation is that you dial those digits and you do it quickly, because really it is first come, first serve here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, this would not be a Wrestle Talk Podcast episode if we didn't do what we do every single show, and it's where we ask everybody to respectfully remove their caps, place their hands over their hearts, as we pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth, and that's America, damn it.
Oh, say, can you see? And the rocket, red flag. Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. For the land of the free.
Oh, my goodness.
Can I do a couple shout-outs, Jonesy? Can I do a couple shout-outs before we get into the high spot segment? All right, man, real quick. Shout out to Texas. Shout out to Texas' very own Chewy Martinez. Shout out to my man Marjo who won the VHS last week, the WrestleMania 1 through 14. Shout out to the MEW Mid-Continental Champion, Big Country Matt Stockdale. Shout out to Dr. Ison in the house. Shout out to Sunny Money Mayo. Shout out to my buddy Joe. What up, baby, man? Hey, I gotta admit, Joe's beard is pretty sick, man. I like to take credit as one of the illest beards in the game, but my man Joe, bro, your beard was sick last time I seen it, bro. And there's a bunch of other people that are watching right now that I haven't seen any comments or whatever. So make sure you guys pop in and say hello, because we want to make sure we shout you guys out as well. Oh, and Travis, thank you for being here as well, man. We love you guys. Hit the hearts, hit the likes, share the broadcast. And if you guys want to win this TNA Knockout collectible card set with a guaranteed autograph, remember, hit subscribe on YouTube, dial that number, and I'll mail this out to you before the end of the week. How about that? All that said, amigos, let's go ahead and get into it, baby. We're going to kick off tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast High Spot segment, where we talk all things in the world of professional wrestling. Intern Timmy, you know what to do. Hit the music.
Oh my goodness, we got so much that we want to talk about. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start it off. So last night I got into kind of a debate on Facebook. And what happened was somebody had posted a article that Rusev was being replaced at Super Showdown. And a gentleman made a comment and said, Rusev should go to AEW because AEW is better than the WWE anyway. And I replied that not everybody that leaves the WWE or is thinking about leaving the WWE is going to go to AEW, because if that was the case, then AEW would be in the same boat that the WWE was in. People would be complaining that wrestlers weren't being used. And I also said, and second of all, how can you say that AEW is better than the WWE if they don't beat the ratings of Raw or SmackDown? And of course, they responded, but they beat NXT every single week. And I said, well, that's true, but that's also WWE's lowest rated show. That's like saying that, let's see, what kind of a reference can I make? That's like saying that I don't know what kind of reference, but it doesn't make any sense. And then he made the point that he hasn't watched wrestling in over WWE in over a year. So once again, I'm like, how can you have any input in what the WWE does if you don't watch it? Why do you care what the WWE does? And then what pissed me off, Renee, was when he said that he is a true fan of professional wrestling because he likes AEW.
My. And I see that the phone lines are starting to light up, guys. We're going to prioritize you guys today. If you call in and you hit the subscribe button over on our YouTube channel, you are definitely going to be in the running for that collectible that we're going to be giving away. So thank you, guys, and we're going to get you on as soon as possible. Let me go ahead and give you my thoughts, Jonesy, and here's how simple it is. It's no different to me than religion. And go ahead and jump on this boat with me, guys. I promise we won't sink. And here's what I mean by that. The reason that many people come to this country is not only financial prosperity, but it's also religious freedom. It's not that different in the world of professional wrestling, amigos. How do you define a pro wrestling fan? Does a fan who never watches anything on TV and only goes to indie? Are they not a real fan? Or maybe somebody doesn't watch wrestling at all, and they just love the old stuff, and they go back in the network, and they're watching stuff from the 70s and 80s. Our boy Jay Hollywood, anybody who's ever listened to him on the show knows that he's a big-time wrestling fan, but does he watch the current product? No. Does that make him any less of a wrestling fan? No. Pro wrestling is a house of many different styles of worship, okay? You don't have to do it one way. So for someone to say to you, Jonesy, that you're not a wrestling fan because you don't do this or you don't like that is not only immature, quite frankly, it's flat out disrespectful. The arrogance of some of the fans, and honestly, I think that it's been trickling down from some of the talent. Everybody, and if anybody wants to disagree with me, I want to welcome you to join me in this conversation, okay? 657-383-1521. No matter what part of the country you're from, or really what part of the world, because for the record, guys, I'm very happy to announce this, close to 10% of our listenership is based out of the UK. And I'm sure my friends in the UK will be able to relate to this as well. And here's what I mean, Jonesy. Here's what I absolutely mean. No matter what part of the country you go to, there's always some promoter that says, we are the only real promotion in the area. We are the only real company. We don't have this. This makes us better than somebody else. Or we do have this, and that makes us better than somebody else. That stuff is nonsense. Because you know what, bro? There's guys and girls out there that actually love, like, for example, backyard wrestling. Many of our favorite wrestlers come from that aura, right? Well, they come from that background, I should say. But guys that are competing against them on the highest level will quickly trash backyard wrestling. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and even closer to home here for us, Fuego de Sol. All guys who have a history of backyard wrestling. Does backyard wrestling, if that's what you love, does that make you any less of a professional wrestling fan? I don't believe so. Now, if we want to get into the semantics of whether it's safe or if it's a good influence on the sport overall, then we can have that conversation. But if I like that and not what you like, that doesn't make me any less of a pro wrestling fan. As a matter of fact, I would contend that if you're going against the grain like that, and you like something that almost nobody else likes, and you stick to your guns, maybe that makes you even more of a pro wrestling fan because you're not bowing down to whatever the majority is saying, right? Because when we talked about the cancel culture thing a few times already, so we're not going to go down that road. But what I'm saying, Jonesy, is, and I'm going to finish off by saying by making this statement, there is no true definition of what a professional wrestling fan is. As long as you either watch it, listen to it, purchase collectibles, tickets, whatever, on any level. Even if you're just a guy that loves the video games, you can't stand it on TV, but you love the wrestling video games, you're just as big and as a credible wrestling fan as the guy who goes to every WWE show around the country, buys all the merch, and this and that and the other thing. There is no clear-cut definition, and I think that the person that you were in that argument with, like I said, is immature and flat-out disrespectful. Those are my thoughts on it, Jonesy.
Yeah, and it absolutely was, and I probably should have stopped, but I continued, and you know, I told him that I wasn't just a wrestling fan, but I was in the wrestling business as well, and you know, he asked me what flea market I was going to be working for, and I told him the flea market that he's going to pay to see wrestling at, and you know, it got it got out of hand. But you know what? You move on, and we're going to move on because there's something else that's really it's kind of scaring me, Renee.
Okay.
I was mentioning before that everything, that couple matches on WrestleMania have been changed. The matches where you go Roman Reigns against Bray Wyatt and John Cena against Elias, and The reasoning is because apparently, from what I've been hearing, and I hope to God this is not true, they are talking about Goldberg very well may win the championship at Super Showdown. And it's going to be, at WrestleMania, it'll be Goldberg against Roman Reigns for the championship. So Goldberg could be the person that defeats The Fiend. I really hope that that's not what they decide to do, because I feel that that is going to cause a lot of backlash for the WWE. Because everybody loves The Fiend, and if you have somebody like Goldberg, who is a part-time wrestler, come in and beat The Fiend, be the person that beats him, it's not going to go good. I'm afraid it's really not going to go good.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll let one of the callers tackle that one, Jonesy, because you brought up Super Showdown, and there's something that I want to talk about. Okay? So let's go ahead and queue up the first caller. They can talk, you guys can cover the subject that we're on, or you guys can talk about something else. That's what High Spots is all about. Again, 657-383-1521. My folks on the live stream, shout out to Uncle Steve, shout out to Joe, again. And yes, hey, if you love Strong Style, bro, more power to you. Shout out to Lucha, who's also on the live stream. Here's what I wanted to ask you about Super Showdown. I have a friend who will absolutely, under no circumstance, watch or participate on any level with WWE programming as long as they are doing shows in Saudi Arabia. Now, why that is because Saudi Arabia has a very, very soiled history of discrimination, not only against women, but of also of people that have a different sexual preference than what is traditional, okay? And they've shown that they are more than willing to oppress opposers. And so from that perspective, there are people that are taking a stand against it. I remember the last show, we had a conversation about Daniel Bryan choosing to not want to participate in the show. We're now on the third visit to Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to know if there's anybody out there who was previously hesitant to watch this show because of it, and if you've changed your mind. And if you have not changed your mind, I'd love to know why. Why have you not changed your mind about watching it? I know that it ties back a lot to our political outlook, but I'm curious. I want to hear from the listeners of the Wrestle Talk family, and I want to know, why are you choosing to watch it, or why are you choosing not to watch it? And again, thank you guys for the thumbs up, the hearts, and especially the shares. Those help us out tremendously. Shout out to Daniel, Missouri in the house, Wisconsin in the house. Always good to have you here, brother. Love you to death. But anyway, that's kind of where I wanted to go with it, Jonesy. I don't know if you want to try to tackle it first, or are we ready to bring on our first caller?
I do. Here is the reason that I don't have an issue with watching it. Because if you watch any of the shows from Saudi Arabia, what is the one thing that you see? You see everybody having a great time.
That's true.
You see kids laughing. You see everybody is in good spirits. Everybody is having fun. And for one time, for a couple hours, everybody gets along. There's no discrimination there. Everybody gets along. And what we got to think of WWE is they are a business. And what is business about? Business is about making money. When they go to Saudi Arabia, they get paid a lot of money. And any business, whether, it's in Saudi Arabia or not, if it's going to bring in money, a lot of people are going to be willing to do it. I mean, but that's just my thoughts, and I'm sure everybody else has some different thoughts. So let's go and get on the first caller and see what they think. Tank Westbrook, how's it going, sir?
Doing good. How you doing, Joe?
Good. So the question that we got is, Super Showdown, Saudi Arabia. Are you going to watch it or are you not going to watch it, and why?
Actually, I'm not going to be able to watch it. I work, but I will be able to watch it after I get off work.
So you're all going to watch it? So,
it'll be, here's my thing. I'm trying to get, out of time to go now to watch it fully. I can't watch it fully. I see your point. I see everybody, up and down, jumping and having a good time. I respect that about any wrestling sport out there. But I have an issue with, like I said, the political views. That's one of my biggest issues. But, don't get me wrong, because I love wrestling so much, I still watch it because I am a true fan of the sport. So will I probably watch it from beginning to end? Probably not. Will I watch, beginning of a match to, skip a little bit, watch the end of the match? That's what I'll probably end up doing.
Okay. All right, well, interesting insight there from Tank. And what I'm taking away from this, Tank, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but it sounds like you're kind of indifferent. It sounds to me like the political side of it that a lot of people are getting caught up on doesn't really matter to you. You're more interested in pro wrestling as a pure form of entertainment. You're not going to mix too much of your political views with what you're seeing in WWE. And I think that's very fair. And I think that everybody would be healthier if they didn't mesh the two. If you looked at pro wrestling as strictly a form of entertainment, didn't over politicize it and bought into to any of the rhetoric about it, I think you would be more likely to actually enjoy the show. But like you said, either side is, I don't think anybody's necessarily wrong, but I do understand those people who are hesitant to support it because of the track record that the Saudi Arabia has. And before we let you go, Tank, I'm going to read this comment here from our buddy Joe Bowman. And I think it's interesting. I want to get your thoughts on it before we let you go, and then we'll bring on the next caller. It says, the biggest problem with Saudi money... What? Oh, hey?
I'm sorry?
That's Baby Tank. I hear a Baby Tank somewhere. Awesome. So let me start over. It says, the biggest problem with Saudi money as far as the product is they have too much influence on the show. If they want Goldberg to win, does he win? He will. Then they'll just take the title off of him back in the States. Now that I have a huge problem with. Let the professionals write the stories. If because they're paying so much money, they're getting to dictate who wins and loses, I think that's very, very bad business, and I wholeheartedly hope that that's not the truth. Tank, let us get your thoughts before we let you go, bro.
No, I agree with you 100% on that, actually. That is one of my things that, I don't... Am I excited to see Goldberg come back? A little bit of me is saying yes, because he was an old-time wrestler that I grew up with. So I'm excited to see him come back for a little while. But the thing is, I don't want to see him with the title. One, he's a part timer. Two, it's because I feel if he does win it, it's because they wanted that to happen, so they will pay extra money for it, and I don't want that to happen. So that again, that's my issues with them going over there. But at the same time, because I'm a fan of wrestling in general, I still support it.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. Great thoughts from you, Tank. Looking forward to hearing from you again a little bit later on during the FWWC segment, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, let's go ahead and get on to our next caller. This is a caller that calls in very, very frequently. My friend and your friend, Sonny Money Mayo.
Hey, Sonny Money!
What's up, gentlemen? Yeah, I try to call in as best I can. As Renee knows, I'm a guy, my job requires me to work at nights, and my busiest time of the night is usually when you guys fire off on Wrestle Talk. But today I'm off, And I made it a point to my wife, my kids, my dog, my postman, and everybody else who would listen to me. Today's Tuesday. Today's Wrestle Talk podcast. I need 2 hours for myself because I got to get into the sport I love, pro wrestling. But all that being said, guys, let me jump into it here real quick. I really don't think, and Renee, it's kind of how you're saying it too, I don't think that we should be mixing the politics with pro wrestling. And whether that's Saudi Arabia or Egypt or Canada or any country in the world, we all love pro wrestling. We want to see the squared circle. We want to see competitors in the ring. We want to see a show. We want to see a winner and a loser. And it shouldn't matter what country you're in or anything like that. I think one of the biggest reasons why I love pro wrestling, and I think Joe and Renee, you guys can back me up on this, is pro wrestling is one of those things in life where we go to it to escape whatever else is going on in our world or in the outside world. And whether that is politics or health or family or money issues or whatever it is, I know for a fact every Monday night I can turn on Raw for 2 hours and drown out the rest of that crap going on in my world. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I'm going to watch the showdown, and regardless of what's going on in Saudi Arabia, I hope it's a good show. The reason I called in, and I know we're kind of running up against time here, and I don't want to make this too long, but the reason I'm calling in, and this might be a shocker to you guys, I do not want to see any part-timers. I do not want to see any Attitude Era or WCW era or any legends have to be in important storylines in 2020. There's so much talent between Raw, SmackDown, NXT that are in the ring, traveling the country, traveling the world, 52 weeks a year, that I don't think it's fair that if Bill Goldberg shows up and automatically gets a title match with The Fiend. And Renee can back me up on this. I love the old school wrestling more than I love the new school. But that doesn't take it away from the new school. There's so many great young up-and-coming wrestlers or guys who actually are establishing themselves now or that are actually in their prime right now that get all these main event spots except for the 2 months out of the year come WrestleMania season. So what's going to happen 10 years from now when Goldberg is 60 or Stone Cold is 60 or Undertaker's 70? I mean, are they really going to be trying to roll them out then? So that's my thoughts on it, guys. I'm going to keep listening. And
Well, Sonny, hold on a minute. Hold on just a minute, buddy. We're not going to let you drive by this call-in because I have a question for you, okay? And that's a great take, by the way. Great take. Very, very great take. Hey, if you subscribe to the Wrestle Talk Podcast YouTube channel, that's a great take. You might be in the running for this TNA Knockout autographed card set. So make sure you stay tuned, and we'll announce that a little bit later. Great call. But I have a question for you before you go. So you said something about Attitude Era, old school, not necessarily, getting back into storylines. Well, I got a little bit of breaking news for you, Sonny Money Mayo, as we're just a couple of minutes away from our first featured guest of the evening, Ryan Ash. Intern Timmy, hit that breaking news drop for me.
Come on, Intern Timmy, hit it.
Great timing, Intern Timmy. Ladies and gentlemen, this report is courtesy of eWrestling.com. Again, eWrestling.com is reporting that the famous bombshell manager from the 90s, who you'll remember as Sonny, also known as Tammy Sitch, will very soon be released from federal prison. So my question to you, Sonny Money, is, do you mean you don't want to see Sonny back in any major storylines in the WWE? Because I personally thought you were going to be very excited about this. Your argument just now basically just blew that out of the water. Do you or do you not want to see Sammy Stitch back in the WWE, hopefully clean and sober?
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. I'm going to come at you guys very bluntly because I know Wrestle Talk podcast would appreciate that more than trying to give it the Disney version.
You damn Skippy.
Sammy Stitch has been she's been in and out of jail.
Wait, did you just call Did you just call her Tammy Snitch? It's Sitch, not Snitch. The man says Tammy Snitch. All right, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Listen, she's been in and out of times. She's been in and out of jail more times than Vince switched titles on wrestlers in the Attitude Era, okay? She's been in and out of jail so much that she has a reserved room for her to go back this year at the end of 2020. Look, I don't ever want to see somebody that, hey, especially as a 12-year-old coming up in the Attitude Era, she was a very fine lady to look at. But where we're at now in 2020, not so much. If she can't keep out of trouble, I hope the best for her. You know, I really do. I hope hope it straightens her out. But I could give two craps less about Sunny. Give me Bianca Belair coming out at WrestleMania and putting on a show. Give me Charlotte Flair. Give me Rhea Ripley. Give me one of these new women who actually get in the ring and work. Don't give me some piece of meat on the side of the ring, flaunting her stuff, still thinking it's 1995. Thanks, but no thanks. And you know what, Renee? I am going to end it on this. For you to even bring up Sunny, as your featured guest would say tonight, one of your featured guests, shame on you.
Great call by my man Sunny Money. Excellent job. What a bunch of great callers to start off the show. But you know what, guys? We got to move away from the callers for just a little while. We'll come back in the second hour and take some more calls. But it is time for our first featured guest of the evening. And I'm going to let my partner, Nightmare Jones, do the honors and introduce. But let me tell you guys, as a reminder, please support our sponsors. Everything Combat, The Conspiracy Farm with Jay Hollywood and Pat Miletich, UFC Hall of Famer. Esports in Shawnee, Kansas. We host all of our watch parties there. And of course, our wonderful friends over at Kincaid. Make sure you guys give them all a follow on social media and tell them that the Wrestle Talk podcast sent you. All that said, Jonesy, why don't you go ahead and do us the honor and introduce our first featured guest of the evening.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a professional wrestler, but he is also a martial artist. This gentleman was a member of Operation Shamrock with the Irish luchador Billy McNeil and Matt Seidel. He is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He can not just beat you up, but he can fold you up into a little pretzel, and you won't be able to get out of it. He's a guy you do not want to mess with. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to introduce to you the one and only Beach Body Ryan Ash.
Yes.
Hey, put your shirt back on. Put your shirt back on.
That's my job. I take off my clothes and walk around in my underwear and beat people up. That's my job because I'm the Beach Body Ryan Ash. Guys, thank you for having me on Wrestle Talk. What's going on?
Dude.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for taking time.
Joe, he does all that. Joe, he does all that and he gets paid for it, man. I'm so jealous.
It's not a bad way to make a living, you know. I beat people up for money. I do it in a ring. I also do it on the mats. I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt working on my black belt here, and I just got finished with my class this evening at North Broadway Jiu-Jitsu in St. Louis. So if you're in the area and you like Jiu-Jitsu, come on out to our gym. It's in St. Louis. Hit me up. What's up, guys? Let's talk some wrestling.
Let's do it. Jonesy, why don't you lead us off, brother? Go ahead, Jonesy.
So basically, not only do you beat people up in the wrestling ring, but you fold people up into pretzels in the MMA floors.
Yeah, that's right. I fought MMA for a while. I was known as the submission sensation because that's how I got all my wins. I'm a ground grappler. I like the jiu-jitsu. I don't really like getting punched in the face. That kind of sucks. But I fought for a while. I started out professional wrestling before UFC was really a thing. And then when UFC became a thing and got hot, I kind of transitioned over there and put professional wrestling on the back burner. But, as I've gotten older, I transitioned back to the squared circle, and I'm really enjoying my time working for Dynamo Pro Wrestling here in St. Louis. As the Beachbody Ryan Ash, it's a heel persona. I used to kind of be a baby face way back in the day, but as I've gotten older, I put a few tricks in the bag and take some shortcuts to get some victories. Ain't nothing wrong with that, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, sir.
Dig it.
Absolutely. Everybody loves Dynamo Pro. One of my favorite wrestling sport for Dynamo Pro is a gentleman by the name of the Snitch. Maybe you've heard of him.
I love the Snitch. I disagree. I love the Snitch.
Exactly. The man needs to get his title shot. But anyways, so you were part of a faction called Operation Shamrock in Gateway Championship Wrestling with Billy McNeil and Matt Seidel. What was it like being a part of Operation Shamrock?
Oh, man, back in the day when Gateway Championship Wrestling was around in like 2000, 2001, 2002, indie wrestling was really popping off. And, Matt Seidel, formerly known as Evan Bourne in WWE, is a really good friend of mine, and as is the Irish luchador Billy McNeil. And those two guys were really innovative when it comes to different moves. They were trying everything crazy. They were doing the flips. They were doing the crazy head dropping stuff, and they really inspired me. I always kind of wanted to be a high flyer, but I'm a little bit bigger guy, and it was a great time, man. We never won any tag belts or anything like that, but those are two of my buddies. I still keep in contact with them. So it was a great time. Gateway Championship Wrestling, if you guys were familiar with the independent scene in St. Louis, it was the hot ticket for 3 or 4 years in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I broke in and where I started my rock and roll persona before I turned into the Beachbody. So Billy McNeil and Matt Seidel, those two guys are both still wrestling. They're both still active and still tearing it up. So if you get a chance to check them out, you should absolutely do so.
Oh, absolutely. We've had Billy McNeil on the podcast before. We haven't had Matt Seidel. Maybe one day we will have Matt Seidel. Cool. So this past Saturday, you wrestled for Dynamo Pro Wrestling, and you were successful in your match against Joffrey Hart and Khalil Akbar. But I want to talk about what happened afterwards, because you returned back into the ring to make what you called a statement after Adam Rich made his return to Dynamo Pro Wrestling and had a victory over CJ Shine. Why did you decide at that point to make a statement?
All right, let me break it down for you, fellas. I got a win earlier in the night. It was pretty easy. It was a 3-way match. I let those two guys kind of beat each other up, and being the savvy veteran that I am, I slid in, stole the pin, because that's how I do. I don't like to get my hands dirty if I don't have to. So I'm feeling good in the back. I'm hanging out. I'm watching the monitors, and I see CJ Shine and Adam Rich, and they're having a great match. Adam Rich is back. He's been off for a couple of years, and he's doing great out there, and he gets the win. But then he gets on the mic, and he starts whining, and he starts saying, "Oh, I did it for my kids. I'm so happy my wife and family got to see me have a professional wrestling match." And he just is droning on and on. And he's just making me sick. And I'm just like, you come back after a 4-year layoff, and you're just going to grab the mic and act like, "Oh, boo, oh, yay for me, yay, oh, everybody should be applauding me." Well, where you been, man? Where you been? This isn't a sport for weekend warriors. I'm in that ring as many times as I can be, and I have been for as long as I can remember. I started in this business in 1999. All right, I broke in over 20 years ago, and he's going to take a huge hiatus and do nothing, and then just get the fans fans' accolades by saying is, playing the sympathy card. Well, I just got sick of it. And so I just ran out there and I gave him my finish, the kiss my ash, and I put him right in his face. And I just told the fans what it was all about. I said, this isn't a sport for weekend warriors. I'm a pro. It says it right there in the name, Dynamo Pro Wrestlers. And I'm just kind of sick of looking at all those losers in the crowd. They're all fat. They're all slobbering all over themselves, just stuffing nachos down their face. And I am a lean, mean fighting machine. Hey, I'm not going to lie. I'm 41 years old, and I got abs, all right? I'm looking at the rest of that locker room. They ain't got nothing. They can't touch me. I am the beach body. I'm tan. I'm jacked, and I'm bringing it. And Dynamo Pro, you're on notice. Everybody in that locker room. I already look better than you. That's a given. And I know I can damn sure tap you out whenever I feel like it. And Adam Rich is just going to be the first guy knockoff.
Woo! I like this guy, Renee. I think that the Beachbody Ryan Ash is going to join the list of wrestlers that are Nightmare Jones' favorite. That involves the Volatile Curtis Bowles, Rick Maverick, and the Snitch. So welcome to the club, sir. Renee, why don't you jump in here with whatever questions that you have?
Wow. Well, surprise, freaking surprise, gentlemen. Once again, I happen to be outnumbered. And Jonesy, you're pandering to the bad guys. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But you know what? I'll try to remain neutral and ask some good questions. Because you know what? Despite Mr. Ryan Ash's attitude, I happen to be a big fan of his ability. Not his tactics, but his ability. And there's a reason that he's been around for so long, the hiatus aside. And one of the things that I found in doing my research is that you do go all the way back to the Gateway Championship days. And here recently, we've seen a couple of different people come back. I know one you've already mentioned, but one I know you're going to be very familiar with because you faced him in the past. And that is the first ever Dynamo Pro D1 champion, former multi-time Dynamo Pro Tag Team champion. I'm talking about the one and only Outcast. And I know I'm throwing it way, way back, but Ryan, tell me a little bit about your interactions and maybe even some of the matches that you've had against what I perceive to be one of the Dynamo Pro legends in Outcast.
Well, there's no doubt. Outcast is certainly a legend. He's legendary. We've had some amazing matches together. He's been a tremendous foe. But I think if you check the record book, I think I've gotten my hand raised a few more times. And not only that, let me tell you about a little match that Outcast and I had at one of the adults effing only shows back in Gateway Championship Wrestling. It was a hair versus hair ladder match. And we went about 20 minutes, beat the tar out of each other. But at the end, I hit him with my finisher off the ladder to the floor, and I shaved his head. And he has never gotten over that, all right? I just made him bald in 2001 or whatever it was. He's been receding ever since, still bald. I got beautiful hair, okay? And since then, he's come back. He's gotten a few cheap wins over me. In my return, or it was 2 years ago in the title tournament, he beat me. He knocked me out of the tournament. Fair is fair. But I will have my hand raised again against the Outcast. He's a phenomenal wrestler. There's no doubt. No doubt. Class act, and, I spit on class acts. I don't care about that. I care about winning. Sure, I think he's going to be, go down in history for Dynamo Pro as one of the best. But I think I'm better. So I'd like to get my chance at Outcast yet again.
Well, before the end of this, I'd like to suggest a name change. And, considering how you're talking and disparaging some of the legends of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, I think you should change your name to Beach Bum Ryan Ash. But that's just my personal opinion. If somebody wants to start a petition, just know I will be happy to sign it. I really will be, because... Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, the Dirty Ronald McDonald write that joke for you. The Beach Bum, very clever. Very clever.
I love Dirty Ron McDonald. We love Dirty Ron. Love that guy. Member of the Wrestle Talk family. Member of the
Dirty Ron?
Yeah, we love Dirty Ron. He's a member of the Wrestle Talk family. And man, when it comes to the sticky icky, man, there's nobody better than Dirty Ron. But that's for another show. That's for another show.
echo those sentiments. And Dirty Ron, he's also been a tremendous foe of mine throughout the years. And if you happen to be in the San Diego area, check out his promotion, Fist Combat. He's great. But he and I had a match not too long ago here at the historic South Broadway Athletic Club. That was a really good, really fun time. Yeah, Dirty Ron, big ups to Dirty Ron. If he wants to do it again, I still have my Fist Combat Championship title match coming. So I'm waiting for him to have the strap, and I'm going to take it off him.
Cool, and it's nice to hear you name drop South Broadway as a lot of big things, a lot of history in South Broadway. We obviously just announced last week. I think we were the first media outlet to announce that Herb Simmons is being honored at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and I think he rightfully deserves it. I think that's probably something that we can agree on, right, Ryan?
Very cool. Yeah. Herb's a good guy. He's SICW, MMW.
Shout out to Tony Costa as well.
Forever.
Yeah, shout out to Tony as well.
Absolutely. And it's March 14th. I'll be down at the South Broadway Athletic Club, submitting somebody that night. So you should check us out that night down at the Broadway Athletic Club. Tickets are $10, so you can't go wrong there.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that. Well, listen, I actually want to solicit some of your combat sports expertise. And this is a sports topic that I think everybody is privy to because it was such a big deal. It happened this past Saturday. And it was the fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. My question for you, Ryan, is, as a combat athlete, what do you look at when you're preparing for a match? Because clearly Deontay Wilder maybe gained a little bit too much weight. A lot of people are speculating that his knee wasn't 100%. Did you watch the fight? And do you believe, I know this is kind of a two-part question, what did you think of it? And then also, do you think that Tyson Fury has pro wrestling written all over him post-in-ring fight career? What are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Well, I'll tell you, I was wrestling for Dynamo Pro that night, and after I laid out Adam Rich, I did, in fact, head out and check out the fight. And
okay.
It was a good fight. I'm not going to lie, I picked Wilder, and here's why, for exactly what you said. I think Tyson Fury does have WWE written all over him, and he did WWE, however long ago that was, 3-4 months, and he's kind of gone Hollywood. I think that's where Tyson Fury's head I thought that's where his head was at, and I thought he was going to get beat by Wilder. I just thought Wilder was hungrier. It was a great fight, but Wilder's clearly not quite the boxer that Fury is. Fury's an amazing athlete, amazing boxer. He just picked him apart, and some big shots put him down. So I guess it wasn't really it wasn't an upset at all. It was the favorite one. But yeah, as far as boxing matches, it was awesome. And when I'm preparing for a fight, it's a little bit different because pro wrestling's pro wrestling, and that I got to stay in the sort of a mental area for that, and it's different from where I go with jiu-jitsu. There's a little bit different mental preparation, but the physical preparation is exactly the same. I train hard. I do my jiu-jitsu. I do my pro wrestling. I lift weights, and do all those things.
Whoa! So let me stop you right there. Let me, if I may, let me stop you right there because I think you said a whole lot in just a couple of words, and you're a credible. Former competitive MMA fighter and a current pro wrestler, and for you to say that the preparation physically is comparable. Now, you said mentally it's different, not any easier, not any harder, just different. But the fact that you said that the physical part of it is equal, I think speaks volumes because I think there are a lot of up-and-coming talents out there that listen to the Wrestle Talk podcast that could benefit from understanding if you want to be a professional wrestler, the pro part is the most important, and that means being physically and mentally prepared. Wrestling every weekend and not working out during the week is not a recipe for success. And I took some exception to the balding, fat guy, nacho comments earlier, but I'm not trying to be a professional wrestler. And I pay my money to eat my nachos, so screw you, Ryan Ash. But on the same note, I agree with you.
You make an absolute.
I agree with you. A ton of respect for what you said.
I'm pissed off.
Go ahead.
It's one of the reasons that I took out Adam Rich.
Okay.
Because I am a professional. I come out there and I expect to go 100%. and I put my heart and my head on the line every time I get into the professional wrestling ring. And for you to just show up and pretend like, oh, I can just do this on once a week or once a month or whatever or whenever. No, you can't. You can't do it at that sort of a level. And I'm going to prove that that's why I'm the best. I take it seriously, right? I take my looks seriously. I take my physique. I take my fitness very seriously, and then translates to both professional wrestling and to the jiu-jitsu and MMA world. And you're right. There's a million guys out there who can take bumps and do professional wrestling. But are you an athlete? Do you eat like an athlete? Do you sleep? Do you train? Do you take care of your body? I mean, look what they're doing in NXT. Look what they're doing in ROH. Those guys are phenomenal athletes. The athlete look is in. You don't got to be a big, jacked up Ultimate Warrior type anymore. You got to be fit and you got to be durable. And that's one of the things that I think these weekend warrior types, like Adam Rich and some of the slobs at Dynamo Pro Wrestling, they don't know what's coming. Because when you step in the ring with Ryan Ash, I'm not only built to show, I'm built to go.
Woo! I like the heat. I'm not going to lie. I like the heat. Well, let's go ahead and keep that going, Jonesy. And I do want to make sure that we respect everybody's time. So, because you do have that fire and that competitive nature to you, we want to harness that and invite you to join us in tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Shoot and Shout segment. And what we do here, Beachbody, is we each get 30, 40 seconds, whatever you need, to release some frustration about anything that may be bothering you, and it doesn't even have to be pro wrestling related. We play a little music, Joe goes first, I go second, you go last, and basically it's a little bit of a therapeutic session. The question is Beachbody game?
I'm always game. It says gameness on my gi. That means I'm ready to fight.
Let's go. Intern Timmy, you know what to do, baby. It's time to get into the Shoot and Shout segment on episode 287 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Go ahead and hit that music.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. My Shoot and Shout is a continuation of what pissed me off last night. How dare that person tell me that I am not a professional wrestling fan because I don't watch AEW? And how dare he try to disrespect me when I tell him that I am in the wrestling business, and he tells me that he asked me what flea market I am going to be wrestling at. I will tell you what flea market I'm going to be wrestling at, sir. I'm going to be wrestling at the flea market that you pay your hard-earned money to go see, and while you are sitting behind the guardrails, eating your nachos, drinking your soda, I'm going to be in the damn ring, living my dream, while you're sitting on the outside. How about that, sir?
Wow! Oh my gosh! Wow, Joe. Wow. Absolutely amazing shoot and shout this evening. Man, I'm going to be very frank. I've been thinking about something that's pissing me off, and I'm having a really hard time because since I've gotten back from San Francisco, man, things have been absolutely incredible. The only thing that's bothering me a little bit is how absolutely dependent we are as a society on technology. At the risk of getting myself written up, I'm going to go ahead and say this. The company I work for is a Fortune 500 company. We employ over 540,000 people worldwide. We're the third largest employer on the planet. Can anybody tell me why I haven't been able to submit a PO or a work order in 3 days? You know what this means? When they finally decide to fix it at 4:59 p.m. on Friday, I'm going to be working all weekend. And guess what? I'm booked at XWE. Shout out Billy Simmons. Shout out to all the wonderful folks down in Salina. But I'm going to be busy this Saturday. So you know what that means? This Sunday, instead of spending time with my kids, riding a bike or sledding, you know, it's the Midwest, so really we could be outside riding bikes or we could be sledding. You never really know. And that's a whole nother shoot and shout. But I'm going to be stuck in the house doing reports, POs, work orders, and payroll. It drives me nuts. How can we be so big and some 13-year-old hacker down in South Dakota somewhere has got our whole company on the fritz. It's driving me nuts, and I hate when people eat up my weekends, man. It really pisses me off. So, all that said, I don't really have a shoot and shout tonight, so I'll just go ahead and digress and pass it over to the beach potty, Ryan Ash. Sir, bring the heat.
Well, here's my stance, okay? I am a big fan of animals, okay? You guys kind of took this off topic of wrestling, so I'm going to go with it, all right?
Do it.
I work for the Humane Society, okay? I work for the Humane Society, and I work for I Care STL, and I foster dogs. And the problem that we have in this world right now is we have too many dogs. And I'm tired of people telling me that I bought my dog from a breeder. Really? That's a terrible thing to do. Or my dog just had a litter. Why did you let that happen? You shouldn't let dogs have puppies. We got thousands and thousands of unwanted dogs right now. You got to get your dog fixed. You got to get spayed or neuter or whatever. Go down to the shelter right now, okay? I got 3 dogs living at my house. You don't have to adopt them. You can foster them. Just bring one home. We got too many dogs. They're overrunning the kennels. They're in crates in the hallways, and it's getting cold outside. Do us a favor. Please come down and support the local Humane Society, your local shelter, whatever it is. All these good buddies need homes. If you have a dog, 2 is not harder than 1. It's the same. 3 is the same as 2. 4 is the same as 3. So just go ahead and go down to the pound and get a bunch of dogs and save some lives, all right? I'm tired of people telling me, oh, I got this fancy high-end dog from a breeder. Or really? That's a terrible person. I honestly think less of you if you bought your dog from a breeder. I'm sorry, that's the way it is, and that's my near and dear to my heart, bleeding heart liberal stance there.
Well, and you know, that is and you know what? That confirms something to me. Beachbody Ryan Ash has a heart. I knew somewhere deep inside there was a heart, a tender, loving heart. Unfortunately, it's for dogs and not for people. We'll work on that. But if you're not adopting a dog, my dog's a rescue. I love her with all my heart. Her name is Katana. She's a 2-year-old blue-nosed pit bull.
Thank you.
Yes, I love her to death. But if you're not adopting a dog and you got the space to do it, well, really, I can't even put it any better than the legendary Irish Sheik. Irish Sheik, what do you think about that?
Fucking bullshit!
Oh, we can cuss? I didn't know that. I've been biting my tongue.
Well, all right, let's do it for round 2. How about that? Ryan, welcome as the newest member of the Wrestle Talk family. We would love to have you back before the end of the year, man. And before you go, drop the social, and where can people see you in action next?
Well, first, let me thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. You guys are very entertaining. You got a nice show here. I'm going to be at the South Broadway Athletic Club March 14th. Check us out down there. I'm going to be at Dynamo Pro March 28th at the Concordia Turner's Hall. Check them out on the internet. My social media is at HafaJits on Instagram, HAFAJITS. Hafa Bro. That means like what's up, and that's my personal brand. So check me out there. I do some technique videos every day. In the Pro Wrestling Squared Circle, man, I love to put on a show. So come on out and check me out there.
Awesome, man. And we'd love to have you back sometime this year, man. We'll set it up, all right?
Sounds good. Thank you, fellas.
Jonesy, say goodnight.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Peace. Have a good night.
Peace.
Man. Now, Renee, I got to talk to you about this Dante Wilder against Tyson Fury. You know, I've heard reports that they said that the reason that Dante Wilder lost is because his entrance suit was so heavy that he was out of breath by the time he got to the ring. This dude came out looking like a freaking transformer.
Bro, he looked like a Power Ranger villain, bro, is what he looked like to me. And by the way, anybody who's making that argument, go back and watch the last 2 rounds of the first fight, and you'll understand that it was written on the wall. I'm sure my buddy Joe will agree. Listen, Tyson Fury's just a better boxer. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. And Devontae Wilder still has a future in the sport, but unfortunately, it's not as the heavyweight champion. Guys, we're coming back with the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. I need all 3 GMs on hold because this is a big, big deal. Enter Timmy, check the phone lines as we go to break for 2 minutes and 20 seconds on tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 287. Dak Draper in the second hour. We'll see y'all in a few. Peace.
Mina. Kansas City.
Well, that was intro, Timmy. That was the wrong entrance song. So that was the wrong song. How about this one, intro, Timmy? Trying to get the flag.
Check this out. There's one thing I've always done is that I've always remained to stay who I am. I am DVD, and I represent the SP from time. I am DVD, and I represent the SP from time. Roll up, this is something you can definitely smoke to. In my past, so I did nothing to provoke you. A northern cat going down her daisy tubes, rolling downtown with a really crazy crew. One of a kind, one of a dime, so in a hell of a life. Mirror move, this is mine, copycats will eventually die. Gotta hold composure, I'm not looking for exposure. I'm just trying to move this notion forward. Keep exploring, I know you notice most of these rappers are boring. Got me snoring, shaking out, so you know I ain't for it. That's why they feel me when I hit the booth and start reporting. They're looking nervous, looking like the radio couldn't afford it. I'm on a deal for my homies who ain't here. Happy guys wasn't really the reason they had to disappear. Life works in mysterious ways. I'm just happy to be here, still doing my thing. I am DVD, and I represent the SP from time. I am DVD, and I represent the SP from time. Burning slow up on the end, rising towards another level. Wood pushing, no pedal, skates gone, no to pedal. A healer and a feeler, feeling like Hercules, merging these. We can see there ain't nothing to me. I've had personal time to spend my life on these lines. Don't give a fuck if you like it or not. Where this bomb when I grab the mic and steady rock it till the early morning. What we on? Well, it's nothing but that pines, hope. You don't even need to worry about another thing. Cause opportunities are endless that I'm known to bring. A king ran my way, but it's never kissed a ring. Respect and love, and we made it more than just a dream. Doubt me all you want to, but at least you know I'm right. Buzz around the high, ain't the type of life I'm living like. So, catch me out your drama, I don't want no problems. The world keeps revolving while my mind keeps evolving. Nah, motherfuckers, DVD, and I represent the SP. From time to I am DVD, and I represent the SP. From time to always gonna speak for myself. You can hear it in my rhyme.
Yo, what up? Night Out. Nightmare Jones. What up, Wrestle Talk fam? Do it for y'all. Check me out. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Even them haters can't hate us no more. So unlock your door, cause we got some more. Every Wednesday we here, keeping it raw. Night Out, Nightmare Jones, and all the best guests. Like a double barrel pointed right at your chest. Wrestle Talk Podcast.com. Smashing and killing it like the night of the prom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again with our number 2 of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. And let me tell you guys what, this is the moment where we dedicate the next 15 to 20 minutes to the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. Here's what makes tonight super exciting. For those of you who have been keeping tabs, okay, we are now on the brink of beginning the 3rd year of the FWWC brand battle. The last 2 years have been won by the FWWC Red brand, which no longer exists. That's right, going into year 3, we're starting to kind of come into our own a little bit, and our brands are now known as Infinite, which is the blue brand, Rise, which is kind of the reincarnation of what used to be UXT, and FWWC Inferno. So all 3 of these brands have equal ability in the FWWC to draft and to try to put on the best shows possible. Right now, though, we're in a bit of a free-for-all. Every single roster member has an opportunity to make an impact and to try to sway the general managers to draft them first overall. And much to my excitement, the first round is tonight. So over the next 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to give the 3 GMs an opportunity to come on, tell us who they're looking to draft. I will tell you how many points they're worth because each brand is actually starting off with 50 points. Everybody's starting off with on an equal playing field. The only difference is that because Red, a.k.a. Inferno, won last year, Inferno automatically gets the first pick. Last night, during an FWWC Raw Challenge, we saw the general manager of the gold brand or yellow brand, Heel Deal, go against the manager of the blue brand, which is, of course, Infinite. They went one-on-one. And whoever won this match was actually going to have the second overall pick. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tank Westbrook came out on top. So, Inferno and Susie Haas will go first. Infinite, Tank Westbrook will go second. And then third will be Heel Deal and the Rise brand. And tonight, for round 1, all they're going to be allowed to do is choose one superstar. Not 2, 3, or 4, just one. That said, let's go ahead and bring on the general manager of the Inferno brand, the one, the only, La Familia's very own, Hardcore Sis. Hardcore Sis, welcome to the show.
Thank you there, Night Owl. How you doing?
Man, I love that country twang, Hardcore Sis. It's always great to have you on the show.
Well, you know it's always great to be here, Night Owl. And I got to tell you, I am so ready to announce my first pick.
Well, Sis, we're going to go ahead and let you do that here in just a matter of moments. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on the other general managers as well because I want to hear their immediate reaction to your first overall pick. But before I bring them on, and we're going to have reaction from the FWWC superstars, just when you guys come on, be courteous. There's only about 17 minutes left in this segment, and we got to get to Dak Draper at exactly 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, so let's be respectful of that. But listen, there's one caveat to this whole draft, Sis, and this goes to Heel Deal and Take as well. There is one person and one person only that is currently not eligible to be drafted. And that individual is our top champion when we closed out year 2 of the brand battle. His name is Savior Saint. He is the Warriors Heart champion, and he represents the Saviors of Funk, one of the most successful and long-lasting factions in FWWC history. That said, when Saint is good and ready after the draft, and he sees how all the chips has fallen, that is when he'll get the opportunity to select what brand he wants to be on. So, I will say this for the sake of making sure that everybody can hear me. If you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute because I hear a lot of background noise, and trust me, the members of the FWWC do not want to hear any of that background noise. I don't know if you're cooking, cleaning, changing diapers, whatever it is, but if you're not talking, please put yourself on mute. Intern Timmy, let's give them a second to do that. And let's bring Hardcore Sis back on because you know what? It is time, Hardcore Sis. It is time to make your first overall selection. And if you want to know what each superstar is worth, all you got to do is ask me, and I will tell you. And as far as for everybody else, if you're not talking, please, please, please put yourself on mute so that we don't have to hear all the background noise you have going on. Hardcore Sis, you are officially on the clock.
Well, thank you there, Night Owl. You know, I really don't care what this person is worth. I'm going to take them no matter what. I've been in negotiations with this person up until recently. Negotiations fell off, but thank God before they did, I had the deal signed and sealed. And I sent that contract to you for your approval. And as everyone knows, my very first pick for the Inferno brand is Marcus Mayhem.
What did you just say? You just chose Marcus Mayhem? Are you serious? Out of everybody that you had to choose from, you chose Marcus Mayhem? Well, quite frankly, the members of the Wrestle Talk family, none too pleased with your selection. But listen, nothing to do with his talent level. The dude is just batshit crazy. He's evil. He's dark. His name is Dark Mayhem, for God's sakes. Why you would choose him first, Hardcore Sis, I gotta know.
Well, for one thing, Dark Mayhem's time is limited here. We are going to get Marcus back. And once we do, he is going to be there. Marcus is going to be a great access to me because, not only did he lead the Red Brand last year to win, but he will be a great person for me to talk to when I need someone to talk to. He will be there to help me carry on the legacy that he began. So who better than help me with that legacy than Marcus Mayhem?
Incredibly ballsy choice by Hardcore Sis, absolutely living up to your name. And I will tell you that the maximum amount of points that any superstar is worth is 5 points. And Mayhem absolutely falls into the category as a top flight superstar. So what that means is that Marcus Mayhem just cost you 5 points, bringing Inferno's total to 45 points. Hardcore Sis, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a minute to celebrate that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in the guy that gets to make the second selection. I'm sure he's going to have some thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and welcome him back in. The general manager of Infinite Brand, Tank Westbrook. Tank, your thoughts on that selection. A former partner of yours, Marcus Mayhem.
Congratulations. With this, you picked up somebody who I was actually looking at. I'm not going to lie. You had somebody on your radar that I had. So right there, it shows that we also think alike. But I got some breaking news. If intern Timmy could actually drop that breaking news.
Whoa. Tank. We're going to let you break that news, but we can't go out of order. We have to immediately get into your selection because we still have to get the heel deal on and let him make his selection. So let's go ahead and get through your selection. We'll let you break the news, and then we'll close it out with the heel deal. Sir, you're officially on the clock.
My selection, a gentleman who came to me and said, I want to work with you. I want your brand. I want to help you succeed. I want to help take your brand to the next level. And I was like, all right, let's sit down, let's pull the contract up. And that superstar is none other than Hardcore Hall.
Absolutely wonderful selection, sir. I've got to give you credit. We're talking about a former hardcore champion, a former FHC here in the FWWC, an absolutely wonderful selection. And let me tell you something, Hardcore Haas was worth a total of 4 points, bringing you to a total of 46 points remaining to be able to use towards the draft. So credit to you, a wonderful selection. And I'll tell you what, Tank Westbrook, I think you might have got yourself the biggest man in the FWWC currently, and there ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of muscle. Just ask Tyson Fury. Absolutely wonderful selection. This is your opportunity to break some news, though, man. What do you got for us? Intern Timmy, hit that drop.
So, Hardcore Fish, you might have just picked up Dark Mayhem, but we each were told by the BOD that we had to surprise everybody with one match for the Super Show down coming up in a couple about 48 hours away. Well, that match that I have booked, signed, done deal, was Dark Mayhem versus El Mata. So those two gentlemen will be representing. He's sponsored by the Infinite Brand for this Thursday showdown. So you might
Wow. Well, yes, we will absolutely honor that match up to this point because the match has already been booked. So you're saying you got Mata to agree to face Dark Mayhem at Super Showdown? Are you serious?
Yes, I did.
Absolutely incredible, Tank. Pulling a rabbit out of the hat. I was a little disappointed with the fact that you wouldn't give us any information last week. Dude, you absolutely made up for it this week. Congratulations on drafting Hardcore Haas, and congratulations on what could possibly be the best match at FWWC Super Showdown. Thanks a lot for your time, man, and congrats again.
Thank you. You all have a great night.
All right. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, with just a couple of minutes remaining in this segment, because we do have the Mile High Magnum, Ring of Honor's very own Dak Draper, and he's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes, man. I'm very, very excited. But before we get there, man, as a lot of people like to say, we have potentially saved the best for last because boom, baby, boom. Canada's very own Mr. Number One, the new and improved Green Ranger, the heel deal is up and on the clock, sir. Tell the people of the FWWC and the Wrestle Talk podcast family who is going to be your first pick for the Rise brand.
Oh, I've been debating. Night Owl, do we have enough time that you can tell me quickly if I name a few names or points values? Do we have time for that?
Well, yeah, I'll give you 3. What do you got?
Give me El Diablo.
5.
Give me... Oh, sorry, we'll go one at a time. We'll go one at a time.
Okay, what else? Heel deal?
Yeah.
5 points for El Diablo. Who else?
5 points. Curtis Black.
5.
5. Daniel Grimm.
5.
The colors of the Rise brand are yellow and black. Rise takes Curtis Black. Boom, baby.
Wow. Absolutely phenomenal choice. Heel deal, can you give us an idea of why you decided to choose Curtis Black before we let you go?
You gotta look at the last 2 GMs. And I look at them, they got wisdom, they got knowledge, they know how this thing ticks, they know how it works. And my brother, Marcus Mayhem, he's gone off his rocker, so there's one guy left. And that's Curtis Black. And we're going to make everyone black and blue when they slap him around and Rise is number 1. Boom, baby.
Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Canada's very own heel deal. So, to make it official, first overall, Mayhem, 5 points, bringing the Inferno brand to now 45 points total. Second overall pick, Hardcore Haas. That's right. Bringing Infinite brand now to a total of 46 points. And last but not least, third overall pick goes to Rise brand, choosing Curtis Black, bringing them now to a total of 45 points. Congratulations, guys. We've got just a couple of minutes, about 5 to 7 minutes left. We're going to try to run through some of these callers and get some reaction. And I would be remiss if we didn't start with Wrestle Talk's very own Nightmare Jones. Nightmare Jones, you are the current FHC, former general manager, former Warriors Heart champion, former Intercontinental champion, former tag team champion, one of the legends of the FWWC. Can you tell us how you feel about the fact that you weren't selected in the top 3?
Nightmare Jones was not selected in the top 3. Nightmare Jones was not selected in the top 3. Can somebody tell me what title that Curtis Black holds? None. Can somebody tell me what title that Hardcore Haas holds? None. As to rue the day that you did not pick Nightmare Joe's first. Goodbye.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we're going to piss off Nightmare Jones a little bit more often because let me tell you what, that was the quickest segment we've ever done with Nightmare Jones. I actually kind of like it. Well, you know what? Somebody else who was not chosen to be in the top 3. Now, listen, no need to get upset, guys. There's only 3 selections. We got a long way to go. There's 30 people on our roster. This is a guy who's had a little bit of a rough go of it here recently, and I had the very difficult task of making the decision, which actually ended up getting this gentleman suspended. He is our current FWWC Intercontinental Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in for the first time in a long time, the king of Bleach style, Cody.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What do you got, KOB?
Oh, just hanging out. I'm on vacation now.
Okay, tell us all about it.
Oh, just gotta get better. Gotta stop acting like a dumbass.
And what do you mean by that?
Oh, you know, not showing up, doing the right thing. You know, I kind of also fit Bleach and KC Luchador. Face, yeah, the unidentifiable man. He got me in trouble, you know. People weren't happy, so they kind of suspended me, you know. So it's all good. It'll get better.
Anything you plan on doing to improve during this mandatory vacation?
Oh, I'm gonna stop being such an idiot and doing stupid things. I kind of fall a lot. If I hit my head, that kind of makes me cuckoo a little bit, you know. Drink bleach for a goddamn sake.
All right, well, KOB, we know that you are on the road to recovery, and we do wish you the best, man. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. Fuck cancer.
Okay, I like that. That was a good close. Very, very nice. All right, we got 3 more callers left, and we're going to go ahead and jump in to a man who is a member of the Saviors of Funk. I want to know how he feels about Curtis Black getting drafted first. I know he's maybe not super happy with me right now, but that's okay. I respect him. I think he's a hard-working dude. He just got to get his mind right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the one, the only, Madman Joe. Madman, what's on your mind tonight, man? What do you think about the draft?
Well, I think the draft is starting to be pretty damn good so far. And congratulations to Mr. Curtis Black for going to live.
Okay, gotcha. Well, let me ask you this quick question, Madman Joe. How many points do you think you should be worth when it comes to being drafted in the FWWC Pick'em?
Well, being a former 2-time European champion and the current United States champion, well, with my run over the last few months, my activity working research has been down due to medical concerns. I honestly say probably 3 times.
Well, Madman Joe, can I have you take us off speakerphone, man, because you sound very muffled. So let's go ahead and have you get us off speakerphone if you can, and just repeat that very quickly.
Can you hear me a little better?
Much better, bro. Go ahead. What do you got?
Honestly, I'd say with being a former 2-time European champion, the current United States champion, and having a pretty decent run for the past few months, but with my recent activity being kind of down due to medical terms, I honestly would say I'd probably rank about 3 points.
3 points. Okay, that's a fair assessment of yourself, man. Thank you for being honest. Anything you want to share with the members of the FWWC after the draft, man? Do you think maybe somebody went sooner that they should have? And how do you feel about your brother Curtis Black going in the top 3 representing the Saviors of Funk?
Well, as for Curtis going with the first 3, it kind of doesn't surprise me. He's been itching to get back into the ring after being a former general manager, and I expect Curtis to do a lot of things. But as for the rest of the general
managers. Be sure to look out for me here pretty soon, because I'm finally going to announce of which brand Madman Joe wants to be part of.
Very, very nice. And thank you, Joe, for being here. Obviously, as United States Championship, you hold a tremendous amount of value. Hopefully, you can shore up some of your shortcomings and become a little bit consistent, because, man, you're a very talented guy, and you've already been very successful here in the group, man. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
All right, guys. Now, we are creeping a little bit into the second featured interview. We are waiting for Dak Draper to call into the show so that we can conduct our interview with him. He's obviously done a lot of tremendous things in the world of professional wrestling throughout his career, but here as of late, the man has been on fire. He won the Future of Honor Top Prospect Tournament. We know that when he was here in the Kansas City area, he was one of the most recognizable and successful talents, winning the NWL title. And then most recently, guys, he won the MCW championship over at Maryland Championship Wrestling. So we're quite excited about the possibility of having him join us here in just a matter of moments. And I believe he is now dialing in. So we're going to get through these last two callers as quickly as we can. Let's say about 30 seconds apiece. I want to ask you guys to please make sure that you speak clearly and that you bring the heat. We're going to start off with Big T, and then we're going to close out with El Diablo. Big T, give us your thoughts tonight, man.
Quite frankly, all three of them draft selections sucked. You can clearly tell none of these managers have the brains on who to pick. It should have been Big T. But that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Big T, I have one last quick question for you. Do you feel that you're being undervalued by the general managers? It sounds like it.
Quite frankly, yeah. And I can care less if I get drafted anywhere, you want to be honest.
Well, big words spoken by a European champion, Big T. Hopefully they don't make the mistake and come looking for you in Columbus Park, man. All the best to you in the future, brother. Take it easy.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah. Look out for Columbus Park in the north side of downtown Kansas City. Make sure you know somebody down there before you walk into Columbus Park. That's all I'm going to say. All right, guys. This is our last caller for the FWWC segment. Dak Draper is in the bullpen, ready to fire off. And if you're not already listening, waiting for Dak Draper, well, it's pretty simple. Shame on you. Our last caller tonight is the one and only leader of Devil's Dynasty. I'm talking about El Diablo, a man who recently has gotten himself involved in some pretty shady business, and we're going to ask him about it. El Diablo, you're live here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. What the heck happened between you and Zozo last night, man? That was crazy.
Emperor Zozo, I have no idea who you're talking about. Anyway.
Whoa. Wait a minute. You just brushed over... Sir, we clearly saw you drown this man in a bathtub last night. Are you just going to gloss over that fact?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, how convenient.
I have not much time on here.
How convenient.
You have Mr. Dak waiting, so let me make this quick. This is not about you. This is not about whoever was drowned. This is about somebody that I just heard on the line, and he thinks that he's some type of nightmare. Well, I heard how upset he was that he wasn't drafted top 3 tonight, and if you ask me, I don't even think he would even make top 10. But
whoa,
you're furious. What was that?
I said whoa.
But since he is angry, and since he is furious at the moment, why not use that anger against me, Mr. Nightmare Jones? For after all, life is but a dream, and I'm here to wake you up. You see what happened to your brother, Hardcore Heart. You've seen what happened to your so-called brother, Marcus Mayhem. And now, I want to see what will happen to you. It could be Super Showdown, or it could be next week. But if you don't have time for me at all, then go ahead and keep running from me like you have been. But if not, accept my challenge.
Wow. Huge, huge challenge from El Diablo. And you know what? I am certain, Nightmare Jones, that you will have a response for him on the FWWC Facebook page. Guys, more information on the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion over at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. That's WrestleTalkPodcast.com/fantasy wrestling worldwide chapter. Just go over to the fantasy wrestling tab for more information. If you've always dreamed of being a professional wrestler, but financially, physically, or for whatever reason, circumstance, that you can't be one, the FWWC gives you a great alternative. We do everything wrestlers do except travel and actually have real matches. It's actually a great alternative if you're in a wheelchair or whatever it may be, and you can't actually get into the world of pro wrestling the way that you would like. This is a fantastic option for you to be able to compete and use your pro wrestling knowledge to your advantage. We've got over 500 members. We've got close to 50 people active. And quite frankly, it is the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. Again, more information available at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are a few minutes late, but guess what? The wait was absolutely worth it because we are going to bring in the Mile High Magnum. And as I make this introduction, let me say that personally, I have affection for this individual because I got to see him perform many a time here in Kansas City. And though it breaks my heart that he's not here on a regular basis like he used to be, he has absolutely spread his wings and he's having a tremendous amount of success. He won the top prospect tournament for Future of Honor and recently captured a championship at one of the most well-respected professional companies in the world at Maryland Championship Wrestling. We're going to play a little music as we introduce him, and I know he'll be familiar with it. Folks, it is an honor and a pleasure to welcome back to the Wrestle Talk Podcast after close to 2 years removed from our first interview, the Mile High Magnum, Dak Draper.
Can you hear me?
Dak, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
It's good to be on. Thanks for having me on today.
What an honor, man. What an honor. Jonesy, lead us off, bro.
Absolutely. So Dak, you are one of the guys that I had the privilege of seeing wrestle one of my multiple trips to Kansas City with the NWL. So what's been new for Dak Draper?
Oh, man, so much has been new. After NWL closed, I moved to Baltimore, Maryland. I decided I needed to move somewhere where I had never been before. I thought the Mile High Magnum's for real. I can go anywhere and make it work. And so I moved to Baltimore. I didn't know anybody in wrestling here. I had to just go off my ability alone. And it seems like that was the right decision. I won the Ring of Honor Top Prospect Tournament in Vegas this year on Saturday in St. Charles, Missouri. I faced Dragon Lee for the Ring of Honor World Television title. So things have been up and up in Dak Draper's world.
For real.
How you guys been?
I've been absolutely awesome. And, you know, now that I know that you are in Baltimore, that is only like 30 minutes away from where I live. So I'm going to have to make my way up to a Maryland Championship Wrestling show sometime so I can see you wrestle once again.
Oh, you're going to have to. MCW puts on a great show. They had Kurt Angle there on Saturday. There were about 1,000 people there. It was phenomenal.
Hey, you're in the queue on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Who am I speaking with?
It's your boy Mayo.
Mayo, you want to talk to Draper?
Absolutely, bro.
Hang tight, all right?
MCW, I think they have a great operation there. Their school is put several guys into Ring of Honor, NXT, on WWE television. But if you're in the Maryland area, I definitely recommend checking out MCW. Yeah, the last show had like 1,000 people at it. It was great.
Exactly. One of my guys that I actually grew up with in wrestling, I saw him wrestle many times, is a guy by the name of Brandon Scott. Maybe you've heard of him.
That's the homie.
Brandon Scott has a black and blue ear from me, courtesy of the Mile High Mag.
Exactly. I remember when Brandon Scott first broke into the wrestling business. It is awesome that that you got to wrestle him. But I don't want to take up too much time because I know that you're a busy man. So Renee, why don't you come in here with whatever questions that you have? So,
no, absolutely, and I do want to. No, I do, and I will say that out of the respect of time, because I know you have a very tight schedule, we actually do have some callers. We're going to choose maybe one or two you guys to actually come on and ask a question, because we don't want to be selfish. Obviously, the fans want to reconnect with Dak. Dak, you got a lot of fans here in Kansas City and in the Midwest in general that really miss you, man. No, and I know you do. So let me ask you that question first. So is the feeling reciprocal? Like, I know you're a Colorado boy, right? Probably a big time Denver Broncos fan, but this region between St. Louis and Kansas City, they embraced you like I haven't seen before. Like, the Anayas, the Hoodies, they got a lot of love in this area. Some of the guys that come from outside get a lot of love, but the relationship that you develop with the fans in this area, I think, is extraordinary for somebody outside of Kansas City / St. Louis. What do you attribute that to, and is the feeling reciprocal?
Well, I want to start off with the second part. The feeling is definitely reciprocal. I love the fans in Missouri. In my last, I just posted the interview on my Twitter and Instagram, and my last promo that I cut before my match with Dragon Lee, I talked about how Missouri is where I went from being a kid to becoming a man. And it's where I really feel like I became myself, and I couldn't have done that without the fans here. So I miss the fans in Missouri a ton. I hope as many of them come out to Ring of Honor in St. Charles, because I want that place to be rocking for the Mile High Magnum on Saturday night. And I think it worked because I think there was a void that needed to be filled when I think with Kansas City, Kansas City had Metro Pro, and I believe the other one's called like KCWW or something. But I think the top guys at Metro Pro were like, you had Jeremy Wyatt, who's been a constant for over a decade, and then guys like Mark Sterling and the Cook brothers. And I don't know, they're not as similar to Dak Draper. People in Kansas City and people in St. Louis hadn't seen somebody like me before. So when I came in, I feel like I was new. I gave people a lot to grab onto, and the rest is kind of history.
Bro, and I'm going to ask you, if you're willing, of course, all due respect, I have to ask you a question about the NWL, not necessarily the ending of it or whatever, because I think that's just peeling back an old scab that we don't need to peel back necessarily, but I'm wondering.
I don't care about answering questions about that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, but here's my question. It's maybe even a little bit more intrusive than that question, and here it is. Did you have a problem when they decided to flip you? Because from our perspective, from a spectator's perspective, you had something really special going when you were the bad guy, Dak Draper, and then it got flipped around. And then somebody else with a big pink robe, which, you mentioned him a little bit earlier, became kind of like the top bad guy. We always felt like that maybe was a little bit premature. And I don't want you to shit on anybody, because the writers worked very, very hard. And there were some incredible writers, including Chris and Matt and some of the other guys that were putting that stuff together. But do you share that sentiment on any level? Because I think you were at this incredible peak, and then it kind of got turned around, and you did a great job as a good guy too, but the tighty whitey chance went away, and all this stuff, you know what I mean? So I felt personally, let me just speak for myself, I felt like maybe it was slightly premature. Is there any part of you that maybe agrees with that at all, or am I off base?
Not real. I don't really agree with it because, I went from being the top bad guy to just being the top guy in general. So
that's fair.
I don't really. I didn't really have a problem with it. And when you look at it from like a merchandising standpoint, the segments I was in were so entertaining that people were always happy to see me, whether I'm being a jerk or whatever.
I agree.
It was always entertaining, so people were happy to see me out there. So they were starting to react a little more favorably and starting to shine through. And the merchandise sales really speak for themselves. Like turning me into a good guy. The amount of T-shirts that sold, the T-shirt sales that happened after that were astounding.
Well, and I believe that, and for that reason,
expense-wise, it was a great decision.
Well, there you go, and for that reason, I would say that it was absolutely a home run because no matter what side of the fence you were on, people wanted to see them some Dak Draper. And I know one of the things that I've noticed to be kind of a habit of yours is you like to shine the light on other guys. And a guy that I know you always enjoyed working with and had a lot of chemistry with is a guy by the name of Niles Plunk. Can you talk to us a little bit about Niles Plunk, some of your experiences with him, and maybe your thoughts about him overall, because I happen to be a huge fan of his myself.
Niles Plunk's great. He's a great wrestler, great guy, even a great winemaker. I think he's been wrestling down in Texas a bunch lately.
Yes.
I think he does such a great job of everything he does it reminds you of a snobby wine connoisseur. Like I never look at Niles Plunk and think he's anything other than that. He's a consummate professional.
Absolutely. I love to hear that.
I constantly try to get him on shows with me. I love being on shows with him. I love wrestling him. Yeah, the best of things to say about Niles Plunk.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of fans in this area are going to be pissed off with me, Dak, but I think you need to take him out with you to the East Coast. And if he does make it out there anytime soon, I think it'll be the last time we see him. So if there's any room in the car out east, man, I think he deserves to be under a bigger spotlight. He's such an absolutely tremendous performer. I knew you were going to have some great things to say about him. The other person I wanted to ask you about was somebody that you trained with when you were at the NWL. Obviously, you came in, you had some seasoning before you got here. I know you were working in Colorado and having some success there as well. But when you arrived to Kansas City, I know that you started working alongside, at the very least, a gentleman by the name of Derek Stone, who's very well respected in this area. Oh, yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about working with Derek Stone and kind of what makes him who he is?
I think a big thing with Derek Stone is Derek Stone helped me so much. Derek Stone's one of those guys who, Derek Stone's going to help you as much as you want to be helped, and I really wanted to be helped. When I moved to Kansas City to work for NWL, I had come from a job where I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, so any time that I had off was spent going to bookings, and I was just tired. So I was so happy to have the opportunity to wrestle full time. And Derek was our coach. That I really used him as a resource. Where physically, like, I didn't take good care of my body. I lifted weights and stuff, and I looked good, but my flexibility was terrible. I couldn't even touch my toes when I moved to Kansas City. And Derek got me in such great shape physically, and there are moves that he told me I should use that I use in Ring of Honor now. And like my satellite power slam, that was Derek's idea that I should do that.
Love that.
He told me I should do that the first NWL training session. He told me, he's like, hey, I think you should do I think you should do this power slam, but pick him up like a sidewalk slam instead. And just like little things like that, Derek has helped me out a ton.
That's awesome. And I have one more question about NWL, and then we'll kind of move on to something else. If that's okay? I think the one thing that I personally wondered the most when we got the unfortunate news about what was happening with NWL was why. Did you guys at any point feel? And I know they were like redoing the training center, and it was going to be like a venue for shows, which I thought was a great idea. And plus that Dill and Pickle place right next to it was fantastic for like after parties. I thought it was all kind of like positioned to be successful. and the shows were starting to pick up steam, right? Because you have that peak at the beginning, and then you have a lull, and then things start picking back up again. I was there for most of the show, so I can speak to it. Did you guys ever get an inkling?
I think almost every show in 2018 was a sellout.
See, that's exactly, absolutely. After the initial peak, it kind of, it always dies down on the second, third, fourth, fifth show. But after the 10, 12, 15 show, it really started to pick back up again. Was there ever like a feeling or a nervousness in the office? Because I know you guys had an office downtown that you guys all worked out of. Was there ever writing on the wall or like a hint that maybe the 2-year mark was kind of like, okay, here's where we're going to gauge what's going to happen moving forward? Or were you guys always under the impression that it was just going to be here and last? Because a lot of people really uprooted themselves, and I think that's kind of the untold story. Jake Durden moves from St. Louis. He moved to Kansas City. You guys will remember him as Jack Foster. Dak Draper moved to Kansas City from Colorado. Being a guy from the coast and leaving beautiful scenery to come to Kansas City, no disrespect, but it's hard to do. Okay, the man's from Denver. He moved from Denver to Kansas City. Great town, but it's hard to do. Yeah, exactly, bro. It's crazy. So, and I know my question's a little convoluted, but I think you know what I'm getting at. So, like where did it turn? Like, do you know why? Were you guys ever told why? Was there ever like any hint as to like what was happening that led to the eventual closing of NWL? Because I think that's something that a lot of people are still wondering about.
So there was always kind of a little bit of worry that it would go out of business. With the amount of money that was being spent, you could see, especially up front when the vision wasn't as clear, when it seemed like more of like money being thrown at a wrestling show. It was I don't know, you could see a lot of red flags, but when it comes down to it, what they were doing, like giving guys health insurance, it's
amazing, groundbreaking.
Like no one had done that in the U.S. before.
Right.
So they give the wrestlers health insurance, and they took care of the wrestlers so well. With me, like just who was trying to make it like indie wrestling, it was a no-brainer for me to do, and I got so much better by doing it. But I'd say the first big red flag was when I think some of the guys got fired. Some of the full-time guys got released from their contracts. And I think that was at the end of 2017. But after that happened,
was that like Mike Outlaw and then like KLD and was it some of those guys dead? I think it was that group, right? Initially,
I think KLD left. KLD left before he decided he didn't want to be an NWL full-time wrestler anymore. He wanted to go back to St. Louis. He wanted to be with his family.
Right.
I think he had some family stuff going on, and nothing bad. But
right. Love KLD, by the way.
Had some stuff going on. He wanted to be around for back home, so he decided to leave. I think in the summer of 2017. But yeah, I think it was November, December 2017. Yeah, when Blaine Meeks and Mike Outlaw, and I think a couple other guys got let go from their full-time contracts. It was definitely like, oh, okay, we're on borrowed time. And when that happened, they moved the office from downtown. So we didn't go to the downtown office very often. I would go there quite a bit because I was like the champion. I'd have to go film stuff.
Right.
But for the most part, just the typical like average wrestlers wouldn't be down there very often. And so they moved the office to where the training center was, which was right by the Chicken and Pickle, and it was awesome. Everybody was there for, like, the Regal Twins would be there creating content. Like, we had some great YouTube videos that we put out. Like,
yes, you did.
The content was being put out was so good. But I think the biggest mistake that NWL made was that they tried to just be a Missouri promotion. Just a Missouri and maybe Kansas, like a promotion that stays kind of in our area. And I think the only way NWL could have made it is if they used that budget and actually went for it. If they went on the road and had shows up in Minnesota, Wisconsin,
even Topeka, Dak, even Topeka and Oklahoma City, would have been. I agree with you completely because the St. Louis thing in the beginning, where it was like two brands, same company, like the concept was great because it was kind of like a traveling circus. And I know a lot of people in the pro wrestling world won't appreciate that, but let's remember where pro wrestling came from, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly, and I wish that had happened.
too. It was. I really think that. I think we had a lot of good stuff going on, especially with NWL, and I think NWL really hit its stride in the summer of 2017.
I agree.
And I think they made a bad first impression with a lot of fans with the original shows, where just the vision wasn't completely hashed out yet, and it came across to the fans, and so it turned a lot of people off. The name, where it was called National Wrestling League instead of wrestling, that turned people away. But I think I think there were some safe decisions made early on, where I think they were made kind of as if like, okay, we're on borrowed time. Let's extend it as long as we can. Versus, let's use what we have to try and make this as big as possible. And but that's easy for me to say. I was just a wrestler,
right?
So I wasn't making the tough decisions. But as a wrestler, I really wanted like NWL to go for it, and I don't feel like NWL ever really did go for it. And now, not many people know what it was.
Right, and I'll tell you what, word was
why I keep going for it in my life.
Well, Dak, word was spreading. My buddy Joe here, who we'll throw back to here in just a moment, he's a very well-known referee out in the West Virginia, Baltimore, kind of that area where you are. And he heard, because as you know, there's an NWL out there as well, right? Now, you probably heard about it by now. They have their own NWL out in that region. Right, so there's another NWL that's... Yeah, it's like an East Coast NWL, and they've been around for a little while. But I remember Joe saying, hey, I'm hearing stuff in locker rooms about what you guys are doing back in KC. So it was definitely spreading by wildfire. And so I'll close out that whole part of it and then go to a caller by asking you this. After having gone through that experience, obviously you're better for it. I think you made some great relationships. You made some great relationships that'll probably last a lifetime. Is there any hard feelings or ill will towards like Major or Goff or Matt or any of the people that were kind of like making the decisions? Do you hold any grudges, or do you have any ill will or frustration towards any of those people who were really kind of like the decision makers, or did you just kind of look at it as a learning experience and you were grateful for the whole thing? I'm curious.
I have no ill will. I'm so thankful that Major gave me the opportunity to wrestle full time and to like just focus myself on becoming the best wrestler I could be. Like, that's what I needed to be able to just get so dialed in and to really become the Mile High Magnum. It's like I said in my promo for Ring of Honor this weekend. Like, I went from being a boy to a man. Like, I became a professional in NWL. I realized what it was like to have to put a company on your back, and I'm so thankful for those opportunities. Like, Major didn't have to hire me. Major didn't have to move me out here, and Major gave me the opportunity to improve myself, and so I'm incredibly thankful to those guys. And Matt and Chris helped me so much. Chris was so great with just like, I would run through a wall for Chris Goff, and I feel like anybody that worked in the NWL office at the end would say the same thing. Like, Chris Goff was like our fearless leader, and Matt Jackson helped me so much with communication, with the way that I talked, with the way that I did my interviews. He helped me to communicate so well and to like really draw on real emotions that I felt. And so all three of those guys helped me so much, made me so much better. So I have no ill will.
Dude, that's so dope. And I know a lot of people talk about pro wrestling and kind of the culture of it being somewhat toxic, and it definitely can be. For you to have gone through that and to talk about it and look back in the rear view and basically chalk it up as a positive experience, I think it speaks to your character, and I think people need to understand that sometimes you go through hard times so that you can kind of raise yourself to another level. Sometimes it takes being down low so that you can get up to the Mile High Magnum. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
At the risk of being a little cheesy. All right, well, here's
okay right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the beauty of the Wrestle Talk podcast, that you got some fans back here in the Midwest who have been waiting patiently. Unfortunately, we're going to have enough time for just one caller before I throw it back to Joe, because we got to respect Dak's time. We've only got a couple of minutes left, okay? We're going to bring on Sonny, who was one of the guys that bought the season pass and the whole deal for the NWL, even back to the Metro days, and I believe he might have even been at the last Metro show. So let's go ahead and bring him on. He's a loyal member of the Wrestle Talk family, and I know he's very excited to be able to get back on with Dak Draper. Sonny, welcome back to the show, man. What are your thoughts tonight, and what questions do you have for the MCW champ, baby, Dak Draper?
Yeah, that's right. You better represent it for Dak, bro. Hey, Dak, congratulations on that MCW championship, man. And, I know your time is valuable, and I do want to appreciate you for taking this call here. Yeah, dude, me and Renee side by side, we went through it with Metro and we went through it with NWL, and it's kind of like what Renee said, and not to go back on harsh times there. It was kind of sucks how it ended, but overall, dude, my feeling on Dak Draper and I don't know if you quite know this, but with Metro Pro, they would bring in guys not just from the Midwest, but from around the world. I mean, and I don't want to go through names here, but just a couple names: Tommy Dreamer, Sonjay Dutt, Stevie Richards. So they would bring in names, but it would only be about once or twice a year. With you and with the whole NWL thing, you were a guy who came out who was flamboyant, who got on the crowd, whether you were a heel or a face, and not only with that, you backed it up in the ring. And the matches you had with Wyatt, bro, I mean, I still watch them. I still watch some of them old NWL tapes. You used to kill it in the ring.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's not to discredit Jeremy Wyatt by any means. I would call Wyatt like the modern day Harley Race. Like, Wyatt comes in, he kills it every time. He's in the main event spot, which he deserves, but he holds it down really mostly for the Midwest. Well, you came in, you were holding it down in Denver, you came in and held it down in Kansas City and St. Louis, and now you're out in Baltimore, out on the East Coast, doing it for Ring of Honor. And, dude, I just want to say thank you from a wrestling fan for putting Kansas City on the map, being one of the guys who put Kansas City on the map in that NWL period. And, much praise to you, dude, and much blessings to your career from here on out. And I do want to end it off with a question here. Me being originally from Philadelphia, I grew up in that ECW era. I grew up on wrestling felt different there than it did the Midwest. Do you think that anything different would have happened with NWL if it was in, say, maybe Chicago or Philly or like a hotbed wrestling town like this? Because this is something that I always discuss with Renee. Kansas City, it draws fans to shows, but like even in the NWL, the beginning, it drew a lot of fans, and then it, kind of slumped down. And it just doesn't feel like that there's that many diehard, independent wrestling fans in Kansas City as compared to a major city like that. So do you think, like, maybe NWL went differently or got another year or two out of it if it was in a big major city like that?
Especially if it was in a Chicago or a Philly, one of those cities where the crowd is, the Chicago crowd and the Philly crowd, those are tough crowds. I love working for those crowds, but if they think you suck, they're going to tell you. I think if NWL from summer 2017 on debuted in Philly or Chicago, yeah, they'd be bigger than it ever was in Kansas City. I think if they debuted the product that they debuted at the first Kansas City show, it would have been worse. Because I think the Philly crowd and the Chicago crowd would have just eaten it alive. Where they had a lot of the kind of goofy characters on the first couple shows. A lot of the characters were like occupation based. There wasn't as big of an emphasis on like good in ring wrestling. I think the early NWL product would have done horrible in like Philly or Chicago. I think the later NWL product would have done better there than it did in Missouri.
Yeah,
and also, Sonny, hey, thank you. I appreciate your support too. Like I do think the Missouri fans are so special. I think like they helped bring out what I needed to bring out in myself. Like I couldn't have done that without the fans here.
That's so awesome, and I'll jump on kind of Sonny's bandwagon by saying this. I think that rivalry that you had with Red Cloud, I think that would have held up in any market. With the haircut thing and all that stuff, the beard, everything that you guys did, that was so memorable and so cool. And I just don't know if you guys realize that those are things that here locally we'll talk about forever. Some of the stuff that you guys did just in that short period. And then, of course, all the Metro stuff because, the fact that Chris was ballsy enough to let you guys still have that one show to kind of close out all the storylines at Metro was incredible. And the fact that you had that match with Jeremy, I think just says everything that it needs to say about how much you guys love this market, because you didn't have to give that to us. Once the doors closed, you could have been like, hey, you know what? Let's pack it up. Everybody do what they need to do to kind of move on. But I think that show was for the fans. You were in the locker room. Any truth in that, Dak, that show happened because it was like you guys kind of felt like, okay, we owe this to the fans, even if we all know that we're all going in separate directions after this.
Like, that show was for the fans. That show was for the wrestlers. That show was for Chris. That show was for Kansas City. Like, that show was, I feel like there were just storylines that needed to be tied up. There were guys that had been in angles that were supposed to wrestle each other. There was all this energy that needed to be expelled. And I think that show was so good for so many people. Like, I hope that I get to wrestle Jeremy Wyatt for an hour someday. But,
Gary J just did it.
If I ever get to wrestle Jeremy Wyatt, I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, Gary J did it like 6 weeks ago. It was awesome. I was there. Ain't you jealous?
Now let me do it.
All right, bet. All right, so last thing about that, and then we'll close it out with Jonesy here. Joe, I don't know if we'll have time for the trivia deal. We'll have to do that next time with Dak when he's available. I do have a question about that, and then we'll leave it. What do you think, Dak, fantasy booking would have happened if we would have got peak heel Dak Draper versus peak babyface Gil Rogers? Do you think that match would have ever happened? And if so, I know you're a little biased. How do you think it would have gone? Because we all know that the elephant in the room over there was what Gil Rogers were doing. Would you have been in favor of doing that match? And if so, how would you have booked it?
I think I like Gil Rogers a lot. I think there are a lot of guys there are guys like Devin Thomas. There are guys like, he goes to Devin Thomas now, but Thortario.
Right.
The Regal twins were great wrestlers too. I think Gil Rogers and I had a match. My first Kansas City Championship defense was against Gil Rogers, and it was an all right match. I think Gil Rogers did a great job getting the fans behind him. I think the fans love Gil Rogers as an underdog, and I think we could have had an okay feud, but I think there were other guys that fit with me, that fit feuding with Dak Draper a little bit better. Guys like your Red Cloud, guys like Devin, your really, really intense baby faces, where Gil Rogers is more of like he's gonna do what he thinks is right.
Right.
But guys like a Red Cloud who's gonna get pissed off and he's gonna kick your ass.
A little edgier.
I think I really meshed with those guys a lot better.
Awesome. Well, and I appreciate the honest answer, because that was something that we all kind of were always wondering about. But obviously, and no disrespect to Steven, who's a fantastic individual, he's always been real great to us. When you're talking about, seeing the highest level of athletes competing against each other, I think that's kind of what the fans are craving for now, more so than even sometimes the story stuff. So I love the fact that we got to see that, and the fact that you are getting to face some of the very best in the world today. It makes me excited, and I'm wondering when we're going to see like a Ken Dixon, Dak Draper match maybe down the road. I don't know. Joe, I know these names are all familiar to you because you're right down the road from MCW, man. Do you have any final questions or thoughts for the Mile High Magnum, Dak Draper?
I do. I have one final question. I don't know if you've actually even gotten into this question or not, but you've been doing a lot of things in Ring of Honor, and on Saturday, February 29th, you get the opportunity to go for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, and you face a guy by the name of Dragon Lee. How is Dak Draper going to go into this match against Dragon Lee?
Oh, the same way I go into every match. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to control what I can control. I think I am a top-level athlete. I know that Dragon Lee is. And I think we're going to have a great match. And if I was a betting man, I would definitely be betting on the Mile High Magnum walking out of there with the Ring of Honor World Television Championship in St. Charles in front of tons and tons of Mile High Magnum fans.
It's gonna be
Was that not awesome, Renee?
Dude, that would be awesome. And let me say this, and Dak, I'd love to have you back again because I think there's so much stuff we could cover. You guys have some big shoes to fill because I followed Shane Taylor's run as the TV title to close out 2019, and I think that was one of the coolest runs. Shout out to the Rev Ron Hunt, who's also a member of the Wrestle Talk family. We love you, Rev. You are the freaking man, baby. But that run that Shane had was something special, and now to see you and Dragon Lee take that belt to a whole nother level, dude, that's super duper exciting. But just know you guys got some big shoes to fill because the TV title was hot to close out 2019. I'm sure you guys agree with that.
Oh, yeah, and it's only going to get hotter.
Dude, last question for me, Dak, and then we'll let you go. We'll do the trivia next time you come on. I've heard rumors, and I've seen the promos. Here's my final question of the night. Do you think that interviewer Quinn McKay might have a crush on you? Because anytime you do a promo and you move the pecs, she gets quite uncomfortable. Is there any chance that she might have her eye on you, Dak Draper?
You know, I watched some of the interviews back, and I can definitely see Quinn McKay looking at my pecs when I like to bounce them like they're two steaks. Like she's looking at me like I'm a big piece of meat. And I appreciate the attention. I also I enjoy being around her too. So who knows? Maybe there's something there.
Hey, Wrestle Talk Podcast is now officially in the Love Connection making business. What do you think about that, Jonesy?
You never know what's going to happen with the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Let me tell you.
You never know what's going to happen.
You're damn right. Well, let me do this before we let you go. Let me remind everybody that Dak Draper is with Ring of Honor. He's with MCW, and he's with all of you guys that support him at the Mile High Magnum on Twitter. And if you haven't been on the Twitter machine recently, just follow Dak Draper. He will give you plenty of reason to do so. Recently, he was like skateboarding or gliding over the Rocky Mountains or something. I don't know. You went viral, bro. It was freaking nuts. You were like, the Grand Canyon. Dude, it was freaking... Dak Draper's like, somebody make a meme of me like skateboarding or flying over the Grand Canyon, and what it took like 15 minutes, and they already had like beams all over the place.
Yeah, it was so Eric Cannon, people should know of Eric Cannon, the wrestler.
Yeah, he's based out of the Midwest. We love Eric, man. He's a good dude.
Oh yeah, he's been a great advocate of mine. He's really he's helped me out a lot. And him and I were wrestling in Minnesota. I love going up there for first wrestling. We're wrestling in Minnesota, and I jumped over him. And in the picture, it looks like I'm doing an ollie over him, but there's just no skateboard. It's just somebody photoshopped it into me doing an ollie over the Grand Canyon. It was perfect.
That's right. And if you guys want to see this picture again, it's at Mile High Magnum on Twitter. For those of you guys on the Facebook Live, you can see like the original picture of him jumping over Eric Cannon, and then the one that our buddy Cheeses of Nather, that's Cheeses, CheeSes of Nazareth on Twitter. There's the picture, guys. Mile High Magnum, there's one last thing that we got to beg you for, man. Please promise that you'll join us again very, very soon. And you got to hit us with one of those, that catchphrase that they either love it or they hate it. Dak Draper, when you say it, people either cheer you or boo you. So before you go, you got to hit us with that. So are you coming back, and can you hit us with the catchphrase so we can hit that music and close out the show?
All right, you can take my word that I'll be back. And if you don't believe me that I'm going to be back on the Wrestle Talk podcast, then shame on you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of episode 287. Intern Timmy, cue up Dak Draper's theme song that we played to intro him. What an absolute honor and a pleasure. Again, guys, that's at Mile High Magnum on Twitter. We are the Wrestle Talk Podcast at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Grab you a mug, guaranteed to make your beer taste 17% better. It's scientifically proven. We got the stats. You know how we do. Jonesy, say goodnight. Let's close out the show, baby.
Peace. Thanks for coming on, Dak.
Hit the music! Turn it up! What a great show. WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
We out. Till next week.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.